Real Madrid actually only had 24% possession. But defensively, this shape actually did help Madrid, primarily in making sure the center of the pitch was practically inaccessible. The deeper midfielders would look to keep eyes on Fermin and Pedri if they stayed high up the pitch, and the back five allowed the wider centre-backs to be more man-oriented when players like Rafinha did look to drop into the midfield as well. And as the half went on, we ended up seeing a lot more of Pedri becoming the second pivot alongside Frenkie de Jong to help progression alongside the Dutchman. But again, Madrid were fairly solid through the centre, but what began to see La Blaugrana looking more threatening was constant rotations. With so many players in central zones, the constant movement would be enough to momentarily draw defenders out of position to get players into dangerous zones. And this is the perfect example, as again we see Fermin and Pedri high, with Rafinha in that tucked in position. As Pedri receives, Balde stays deep to force Valverde high up the pitch. The opposing movements then come into play, as Rafinha drops, meaning that both of these Madrid men are now pushing in this direction, allowing Pedri to move in the opposite direction, leading to a shot inside the box. But beyond rotations, it was the wide regions that proved to be key. Real's defense zeroed in on protecting the center of the pitch, meaning that there was now potential for isolations out wide. But down the left, Valverde was able to cope with Balde pretty easily, so the real danger was down the right. This could be simply through Koundé finding Yamal 1 versus 1 against Carreras, especially if Rodrigo had initially been drawn to Koundé, and it was a good battle between the two, but often Yamal was able to get into areas where he could create. But at times, Koundé himself was a lot more aggressive, even looking to overlap outside of Yamal, or at least occupy the half space, in order to create an overload with Fermin Lopez included, again using that right hand side to create danger. But the danger, of course, was on the transition, as whether Koundé was deep, but especially when he had ventured up the pitch, Vinicius spotted his opportunity. He would constantly look to push out to the flank, and though Barca weren't playing an offside trap in the match, they still had an incredibly high line, which meant there was plenty of room for the likes of Vinicius to attack. And that's exactly what we see for Real's first goal.